Okay, welcome to our webinar. This webinar is all about reversing type 2 diabetes. I have an ebook attached so that you can follow along, but this is basically about type 2 diabetes, what it's all about, diving into the specifics, and letting you know that this is something that I have actually had to deal with, and next level nutrition is what is needed. Lots of whole plant based foods, lots of fiber, lots of exercise, getting good sunshine, taking care of yourself, getting a new lifestyle routine going is really what we're going to be focusing on here today. So let's get started. Okay, so this is just going through the book as is, and then I'll be adding on to it in terms of what I say. So we're going to be talking about glucose and insulin. We're going to be talking about what causes type 2 diabetes, what causes the insulin resistance, what does that mean, some of the worst foods you can use as a type 2 diabetic. Carbohydrates are not your enemy, and what reverses type 2 diabetes. Best foods that you can eat. I do have it listed so you can make some notes for yourself. Um, Live action and getting in that exercise and stacking your habits to really help move this process forward. All right, so I just introduced myself. My name is Chantel Salmon, and I am an iridologist, a Caribbean herbalist, and a raw food chef. So I do live, fresh, sun cooked foods, meaning foods that are cooked by the sun and not having to be processed or cooked and losing a lot of nutrients in the process. So these are the type of foods that I am going to be introducing to you, so you can add them into your um, daily routine so that you could get a lot more fiber, antioxidants, and nutrients in your system quickly. All right, let's start with glucose. Glucose is simple carbohydrates. Okay, so we're talking um, natural carbohydrates, things that you can utilize the energy from, store later, kind of glucose. We're talking about glucose is sugar. So I guess that's the best way I should say. So simple carbohydrates is what we're focused on to get our glucose from. Our energy comes from that, and then our body stores some of it if there is too much. Insulin is a key. So insulin is what is a hormone that is used to get the glucose into the cell. So the glucose is floating through your bloodstream. You need that key, which is the insulin, to open up the cells so that the glucose can get into the cell. And the two things work together. So you have to be able to not have so much resistance, as well as good quality glucose, so that the whole thing works in balance and the way it should. Um, what causes diabetes? Diabetes is caused when you're not getting the glucose into the cell. Too much resistance has built up in your system. The insulin is not acting right to open up the door to let the glucose into the cell. And this is where it stays in your bloodstream too long and you have high blood sugar. So, and this is what you don't want because it can long term it can cause complications in terms of kidney damage, cardiovascular damage, nerve damage. It interferes with your circulation, blindness. People can go as far as getting amputations. So these are the complications that you don't want to have happen to you. All right, now what causes insulin resistance? Because this is the crux of the matter, and that is that there's a excess amount of saturated fats. These fats kind of block the insulin, the key, from opening the door to letting the glucose into the cell. So it's not really the sugars that's the problem, it is the fats that's the problem, saturated fats. So excessive amount of refined carbohydrates, added sugars, lack of exercise, and desaturated fats are what causes most of the insulin resistance. So you want to reduce your insulin resistance, so you reduce those things. Obviously, that means that some of the worst foods would be saturated fats, the refined carbohydrates like your breads and pastas and donuts and pastries and chocolates and these kind of things, cheeses. These are the things you need to stay away from. And I did make a list further down so that you can really see what you need to stay away from. But taking these things out of your diet is a really good first step. And we do have a 7 week program which helps you to guidedly reduce these things in your diet and take you way closer to eating a lot more refined foods. So we do um, reducing the saturated fats, then you get into a cleanse, then you change your diet for 21 days where you're eating all light food. So this is one of the paths you can take to get this process really working for you. Now, carbohydrates are not the enemy. So the complex carbohydrates and the refined carbohydrates. So the complex ones are ones that you will know that are more natural, obviously unrefined, and they're high in fiber and vitamins and mineral nutrients that you really need. And the refined ones are the ones that I was just talking about, where they're lacking in nutrients, but they're high in sugars and starch, and they can spike your blood sugars and put too much glucose in your bloodstream, causing the insulin resistance to be there long term. So we don't want that. Now, reversing the type 2 diabetes means you're eating more whole plant based foods, very high in fiber, antioxidants, like I said, lean proteins, lots of vitamins, lots of minerals. You have to exercise as well daily, and that's important in terms of burning up those sugars in your bloodstream. And staying hydrated is another important key to this whole system. So water is part of it. Low glycemic fruits is a very good way of hydrating your system as well. All right. The next thing is fasting. This is something where you want to get that excess glucose out of your bloodstream. Um, you've been working out. You think you're eating right, and you're still having this problem. Juice fasting on green juices is very helpful. 3 to 5 days, no eating, and I put a recipe for one of our basic alkalizing green juices in there that will really help to bring the blood sugars out of your bloodstream within 72 hours. You can bring it right down, use it all up, and then you start on your path where you're now eating whole plant-based foods. And what you can do to really um, keep the maintenance there at that reset point is your intermittent fasting. And I did tell you about different types of intermittent fasting. The basic one is 16-8, which you're fasting for 16 hours and you're feasting for 8 hours. So you're eating well during that 8 hour window and you're not eating during the 16-hour window. When you get better at it and your eating patterns really take hold, then you can do 18-6 or 24, or some people go as far as OMAD, which is no one meal a day. But um, getting your own rhythm and creating a protocol for yourself where you're walking regularly, you're getting your sunshine, you're hydrating your system, you're eating plant-based meals. These combination of things, as well as meditation, will be extremely helpful because all this helps to keep your blood pressure under control as well in this whole equation. Um, then we list all the foods. So I have them broken down into which foods are best for you, rich leafy greens and non-starchy vegetables. Then the starchy vegetables, grains, legumes, nuts and seeds, herb seasonings and condiments. Everything is not listed there, but I'm giving you an overview. Um, as much as I could, that would be extremely helpful to this process, especially in the herbs and condiment section. There's so many condiments, but you need to keep it as pure, as light, and as clean as possible. Obviously, we talked about taking action, getting moving is the best way for the body to really burn up that glucose. Um, Along with the intermittent fasting. So the combination will help to keep resetting you every day, so you keep it to homeostasis or balance. Daily exercise and stretching improves your mitochondrial function. It helps increase muscle glucose uptake, and it gives you good energy balance, which is what you want. Um, you got to set those goals, okay? So you got to work out a plan where you're taking out the plant-based products, the dairy, the eggs, the saturated fats out of your life. You do cleanses every 3 to 4 months. You get rid of that insulin resistance, which also means you're reducing the inflammation in your body, which also means you're losing weight. Okay, so the excess fat comes all out of your system. Then you focus on the whole plant-based foods, your exercise, and your intermittent fasting. So this is the goal, or the stacking of habits that you want to get yourself into doing. And I did put in some recipes at the end of the book: a soup, a sauce, uh, a lentil sprouts with rice and callaloo stew, and a little chocolate pudding, so that you have a nice overall meal that you can eat that's high in fiber. There's a little listing here also for you to make up your own grocery list of things you want to buy. And you can check us out. You're in this page right now doing the webinar, but you can check out sacred emails for other recipe books. You also will see videos on how to make some of those recipes. So all that stuff you can check out in the academy, as well as there will be. I'll put a few exercises in this page so that you can do a little breath work, a little running on the spot, or things you can do at home that would be extremely helpful. So I hope this was helpful and to get you started. And like I said, we do have our main course, which is a 7-week course, which takes you through this in detail. Thank you. Take care and always drop me a line.